on the State of the Union and ordered printed.
Without objection.
I'm going to try and be as academic about this as possible. I hope to hear a little something about Taiwan, but more about FDI, foreign direct investment, than war. Tariffs, very powerful things. Taiwan chips, semiconductors, just flipping the script, literally flipping the script. And to announce something like that before something like this, I have a feeling he's gonna flex on what his strong suit has been. It was like 5 years ago when I heard the phrase Trumponomics for the first time. I think it was about 5 years ago. No, couldn't have been. Maybe 4. Hello. That's a lot of pink. I was teaching let's go, nod. A small group of what will be very influential, I hope, young minds sometime in the future. Having to separate the politics from the economics, those A-level economics kids, they got it. This was in the UK, by the way. Tariffs, China, it all makes sense still, if you understand what GDP is, gross domestic product, sum total of all goods and services bought and sold within a domestic economy. That's like if you take your mom or your dad's bodega and you count how much money crossed over the till, whether you count it from the customer handing it over, you putting it in your till, or the value of the product that's being sold from whoever manufactured it, it should be the same. Rarely is. The bigger the difference in those 3 ways of measuring it, the bigger the problem. But with Doge now, I'd have a field day. How soon is soon? Should I get coffee?
Mr. Speaker, the President's Cabinet.
I'll take a good look at these guys. I'm a big combat sports fan. You can always tell by the walkout which way things are probably gonna go. Gotta give me one of those.
The President of the United States.
Teaching in British schools for 7 years, every time I asked what tariffs were, they seem to think that the business that produces the good and sells it, that they pay it. I guess some kind of charge. Shocking. It's like, no, you pay it. Consumer pays their government for purchasing that foreign product. That's what it is, essentially. And then what the government chooses to do with your money, that was the last lesson, or the next lesson, right? President Trump would probably call it paying the bill for eating at the diner, so to speak. Or I would call it insurance. And Medicare is probably going to be something to talk about right now. Like health insurance, what the NHS is in England. Make some noise for our NHS. That's funded by the taxpayer. And the overinflated NHS is a huge chunk of the budget. They have no money left for their military. Love or loathe it, friend or enemy. If anybody is not aware, America has a power triangle. You got President, Congress, and the Senate.
In history,
illegal immigrants also don't pay taxes, so they're not contributing towards the free health insurance everybody wants. It's like, take your medicine. He hasn't sugarcoated though.
All new federal regulations and a freeze on all foreign aid. I terminated the ridiculous Green New Scam. I withdrew from the unfair Paris Climate Accord, which was costing us trillions of dollars that other countries were not paying. I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization, and I also withdrew from the anti-American UN Human Rights Council. We ended all of Biden's environmental restrictions that were making our country far less safe and totally unaffordable. And importantly, we ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto workers and companies from economic destruction. To unshackle our economy,
Is that what the blue tie is all about, Elon?
Every one new regulation 10 old regulations must be eliminated, just like I did in my And in that first term, we set records on ending unnecessary rules and regulations like no other president had done before. We ordered all federal workers to return to
I should have got some coffee.
They will either show up for work in person or be removed from their job.
I showed up for work every day during a pandemic, okay? Do your jobs, people.
And we've ended weaponized government where, as an example,
With high school kids breathing and coughing on me.
To viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out? Not too good. Not too. And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back. We're making English the official language of the United States of America.
I thought it was.
I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America for a great president, William McKinley, Mount McKinley again. We love Alaska.
Beautiful, Alaska.
We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. And our country will be woke no longer. We believe that whether you are a doctor,
Swinging for the fences,
or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. You should be hired based on merit. And the Supreme Court, in a brave and very powerful decision, has allowed us to do so. Thank you. Of critical race theory from our public schools, and I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
an academic field focused on the relationships between social conceptions of race and ethnicity.
From playing in women's sports.
That's something, oh man, that has implications for
was an all-star
Special Olympics.
One of the best.
Most men are more athletic than most women. Okay, not all men are more athletic than all women.
What I have just described is only a small fraction of the common sense revolution that is now, because of us, sweeping the entire world. Common sense has become a common theme, and we will never go back, never. Among my very highest priorities is to rescue our economy and get dramatic and immediate relief to working families. As you know,
cutting foreign aid is going to
last administration, an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare. Their policies drove up energy prices, pushed up grocery costs, and drove the necessities of life out of reach for millions and millions of Americans. They've never had anything like it. We suffered the worst inflation in 48 years, but perhaps even in the history of our country. They're not sure. As president, I'm fighting every day.
Some would say that
reverse this damage and
President Trump laid the groundwork for that inflation. But when you stimulate an economy, spending comes with that, and what follows spending is inflation.
Joe Biden especially let
too much too soon.
Eggs get out of control. The egg price is out of control.
I would wager a guess that maybe he didn't expect to get a second term.
Do a good job on that. You inherited a total mess from the previous administration. Do a good job. A major focus of our fight to defeat inflation is rapidly reducing the cost of energy. The previous administration cut the number of new oil and gas leases by 95%, slowed pipeline construction to a halt, and closed more than 100 power plants. We are opening up many of those power plants right now. And frankly, we have never seen anything like it. That's why on my first day in office, I declared a national energy emergency. As you've heard me say many times, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation on earth, and by far. And now I fully authorize the most talented team ever assembled to go and get it. It's called Drill, baby, drill.
What about build, baby, build, though? I mean, there's so much land, lots of big old flat land, solar panels, and all.
My administration is also working on a gigantic natural gas pipeline in Alaska, among the largest in the world, where Japan, South Korea, and other nations want to be our partner with investments of trillions of dollars each. There's never been anything like that one.
Thank goodness. I thought he was going to say they start fracking in Alaska. I would not be okay with that.
Later this week, I will also take historic action to dramatically expand production of critical minerals and rare earths here in the USA.
Natural resources. One of the 4 factors of production, land resources, fundamental.
To further combat inflation, we will not only be reducing the cost of energy, but will be ending the flagrant waste of taxpayer dollars.
Labor is another one. Enterprise, which the two together are human resources.
I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, GOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it.
Goge and Doge. Sup, Elon?
Which is headed by Elon Musk. Thank you, Elon. He's working very hard. He didn't need this.
I bet.
He didn't need this. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe.
In their hearts of
They
hearts.
just don't want to admit that. Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is.
All that
$8
was
million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender.
what? No, come on.
This is real.
That was
$32 million
part of some kind of
for
research.
left-wing propaganda
There's
operation in
Stupid things that get funded for
$10
research.
million
It's-
for male circumcision in Mozambique. $20 million for the Arab Sesame
higher
School
education.
in the Middle East. It's a program. $20 million for a program.
Corruption in the higher education
$1.9
institutions.
billion
The buddy system for funding.
recently
No one wants to really work.
created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her? A $3.5 million consulting contract for lavish fish monitoring. $1.5 million for voter
Lavish fish
confidence
monitoring.
in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $59 million for illegal
Britain
alien
left the
hotel rooms in New
European-
York City.
What, New York City?
He's a real estate developer. He's done very well. $250,000 to increase vegan local climate action innovation in Zambia. $42 million for social and behavioral
Brexit happened for much less than this. Just
$14 million
for the
for
record.
improving public procurement in Serbia. $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well with learning.
Yeah.
Know what we're doing. Should use it ourselves.
Yeah.
$101 million for DEI contracts at the Department of Education. The most ever paid, nothing even like it. Under the Trump administration, all of these scams, and they're far worse, but I
Okay.
don't think it was appropriate.
Got
to
you, USA
talk about
Today.
them. They're so bad. Many more have been found out and exposed and swiftly terminated by a group of very intelligent, mostly
But the
young
bottom
people.
line is foreign
Headed up
aid
by
is
Elon,
money
and we
leaving a
appreciate it.
country's
We found
GDP
hundreds of
and
billions
never
of
really
dollars
coming
of
back.
fraud.
And whether these statements are true or not, what he just said,
And we've
that
taken
is
back the
that
money
is
and reduced our
A
debt
fact.
to fight inflation and other things. Taking back a lot of that money. We got it just in time. This is just the beginning. The Government Accountability Office, a federal government office, has estimated annual fraud of over $500 billion in our nation, and we are working very hard to stop it. We're going to. We're also identifying shocking levels of incompetence and probable fraud in the Social Security program for our seniors, and that our seniors and people that we love rely on. Believe it or not, government databases list 4.7 million Social Security members from people aged 100 to 109 years old. It lists 3.6 million people from ages 110 to 119. I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly.
He keeps talking about that, but what I'm more interested in is
people from ages 120 to 129.
who's claiming it? Who's claiming the benefits of other people who are not claiming those benefits? There's a lot of Americans who have Social Security numbers that have never taken 1 cent in benefit. Somebody might be, though. That's what I want to know.
149. And money is being paid to many of them. And we're searching right now. In fact, Pam, good luck. Good luck. You're going to find it. But a lot of money is paid out to people because it just keeps getting paid, and nobody does. And it really hurts Social Security and hurts our country. 1.3 million people from ages 150 to 159, and over 130,000 people, according to the Social Security databases, are age over 160 years old. We have a healthier country than I thought, Bobby.
That's a nice tan, Bobby.
Including, to finish, 1,039 people between the ages of 220 and 229. One person between the age of 240 and 249. And one person is listed at 360 years of age. More than 100 years. More than 100 years older than our country. But we're going to find out where that money's going. And it's not
Probably, I'm guessing that that guy's money went to his kids and his grandkids.
We will defeat inflation, bring down mortgage rates, lower car payments, and grocery prices.
I'm more worried about the money that might be going to, like, Uganda.
Pockets of American families.
To some 100-year-old American
And today, interest
that doesn't
rates
exist
took a beautiful drop, big beautiful drop.
anymore.
It's about time. And in the near future, I want to do what has
Or
not been
does.
done in 24 years.
But the IRS doesn't know
Balance the
about
federal
it.
budget. We're
Or
gonna balance it.
didn't go to work that day? I don't know.
With that goal in mind, we have developed in great detail what we are calling the Gold Card, which goes on sale very, very soon. For $5 million, we will allow the most successful job-creating people from all over the world to buy a path to U.S. citizenship. It's like the green card, but better.
It's
and more
what the European Union recommended to Greece to recover its
These people won't
economy.
have to pay tax
Golden
in our
visa.
country. They won't have to pay tax from where they came. The money that they've made, you wouldn't want to do that, but they have to pay tax, create jobs. They'll also be taking people
kinda
out of
working,
colleges,
actually.
paying for them so that we can keep them in our country instead of having them being forced out. Number one, at the top school, as an example, being forced out and not being allowed to stay and create tremendous numbers of jobs and great success for a company out there. So while we take out the criminals, killers, traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the open border policy of these people, the Democrats, the Biden administration, the open border insane policies that you've allowed to destroy our country, we will now bring in brilliant, hardworking, job-creating people. They're going to pay a lot of money, and we're going to reduce our debt with that money.
I want to know what kind of monitoring, what happens, what comes with that visa once you're in the U.S.
Have given us a mandate for bold and profound
Because you can swing that wallet around.
Years, the federal bureaucracy has grown.
The
it has crushed our freedoms,
golden visas,
ballooned our deficits, and held back America's potential in every possible way. The nation founded by
to meet their own
pioneers and
agendas
risk-takers now
while
drowns
signing
under
up their
millions
wallets,
and
you know?
millions of pages of regulations and debt. Approvals that should take 10 days to get instead take 10 years, 15 years, and even 20 years before you're rejected. Meanwhile, we have hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have not been showing up to work. My administration will reclaim power from this unaccountable bureaucracy, and we will restore true democracy to America again.
Terms and conditions for the golden visa. Once you get there,
and any federal bureaucrat who resists this change will be removed from office immediately. Because we are draining the swamp. It's very simple. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over. And the next phase of our plan to deliver the greatest economy in history is for this Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody. They're in there, they're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people on my right, I don't mean the Republican right, but my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing you a big favor by telling you that. It's a very, very big part of our plan. We had tremendous success.
I want to see which taxes are being cut. Can't be all of them.
Permanent income tax cuts all
there we
across
go.
the board. And to get
income
urgently
tax.
needed relief to Americans hit especially hard.
What about
by
inheritance?
inflation. I'm calling for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors.
Those are really nice tax cuts. Tips, overtime, paid overtime. Amazing. For teachers, you have no idea.
I also want to make interest payments on car loans tax deductible.
Senior citizens,
only if
beautiful
the
stuff.
car is made in America. And by the way, we're going to have growth in the auto industry like nobody's ever seen. Plants are opening up all over the place. Deals are being made. Never seen. That's a combination of the election win and tariffs. It's a beautiful word, isn't it? That, along with our other policies, will.
You can't have a globalized economy without that word. That's a key word in this hyper-globalized economy everybody loves so much.
The top people, and they're so excited. In fact, already numerous car companies have announced that they will be building massive automobile plants in America, with Honda just announcing a new plant in Indiana, one of the largest anywhere in the world. And this has taken place since our great victory on November 5th, a date which will hopefully go down as one of the most important in the history of our country. In addition, as part of our tax
Without them, you'd have unfair competition.
Taxes on domestic production and all manufacturing. And just
which would lead to monopolies, and we'll see how much you love your global economy.
To January 20th, 2025, and it was one of the main reasons why our tax cuts were so successful in our first term, giving us the most successful economy in the history of our country. First term. We had a great first term. That
they did, economically speaking.
If you don't make your product
there were economic theories and models that broke down because of how quickly and successful it was, economically speaking.
Against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average,
because the tariffs worked for them. That's why they became superpowers, and that's why they're doing so well now.
Mexico and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily.
That's a trade stonewall, not a tariff.
That's what happens.
So that's pretty much an embargo.
Friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was. And so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day cost us a lot of money. But we're going to do it.
That would have been
April. I'm a
great.
very superstitious person.
They didn't know it would have caught fire.
Reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever
Tit for
they
tat.
tax us, we will tax them. If they do non-monetary tariffs
It's an interesting strategy.
to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take in trillions and trillions of dollars and create jobs like we have never seen before. I did it with China, and I did it with others, and the Biden administration couldn't do anything about it. Off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer. Much has been said over the last 3 months about Mexico and Canada, but we have very large deficits with both of them. But even more importantly, they've allowed fentanyl to come into our country at levels never seen before, killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens and many very young, beautiful people, destroying families. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They are, in effect, receiving subsidies of hundreds of billions of dollars. We pay subsidies to Canada and to Mexico of hundreds of billions of dollars, and the United States will not be doing that any longer. We're not going to do it any longer.
Subsidies are the opposite of tax. So we're taxing you, taking away with subsidies you're giving.
America First policies we're putting into place, we have had $1.7 trillion of new investment in America in just the past few weeks. The combination of the election and our economic policies that people of SoftBank, one of the most brilliant anywhere in the world, announced a $200 billion investment. OpenAI and Oracle, Larry Ellison, announced $500 billion investment, which they wouldn't have done if Kamala had won. Apple announced $500 billion investment. Tim Cook called me. He said, I cannot spend it fast enough. It's going to be much higher than that, I believe. They'll be building their plants here instead of in China. And just yesterday, Taiwan Semiconductor, the biggest in the world, most powerful in the world, has a tremendous amount, 97% of the market, announced a $165 billion investment to build the most powerful chips on earth right here in the USA.
Chips are another factor of production of the 4, right? So human resources, natural resources, and capital. Those chips go into the manufacturing primary ingredients in
we're not
so
giving
many
them
products.
any money. Your CHIPS Act is a horrible, horrible thing. We give hundreds of billions of dollars, and it doesn't mean a thing. They take our money and they don't spend it. All that meant to them, we're giving them no money. All that was important to them was they didn't want to pay the tariffs, so they came and they're building, and many other companies are coming. We don't have to give them money. We just want to protect our businesses and our people. And they will come because they won't have to pay tariffs if they build in America. So it's very amazing.
He's saying it like it is.
The CHIP Act, and whatever's left over, Mr. Speaker, you should
He's
use
saying
it to reduce debt.
if this tariff is hurting you so badly, then come manufacture over here. We've got the land, we've got the space. You know, that's global economy.
Our new trade policy will also be great for the American farmer.
Like he did it in India back in the 80s, you know. And this is in India.
We'll now be selling into our home market, the USA, because nobody is going to be able to compete with you. because there's
The USA is a huge
goods that come
consumer
in
of these
from
products that are
other
made with these primary
countries and
goods.
companies. They're
I
really,
shouldn't call them
really in a
primary, really.
bad position in so many different ways. They're uninspected. They may be very dirty and disgusting, and they come in and they pour in, and they hurt our American farmers. The tariffs will go on agricultural product coming into America, and our farmers, starting on April 2nd, it may be a little bit of an adjustment period. We had that before when I made the deal with China, $50 billion of purchases, and I said, just bear with me, and they did. They did. Probably have to bear with me again, and this will be even better. That was great. The problem with it was that Biden didn't enforce it. He didn't enforce it. $50 billion of purchases, and we were doing great, but Biden did not enforce it, and it hurt our farmers. But our farmers are going to have a field day right now. So to our farmers, have a lot of fun. I love you too. I love you too. It's all going to happen.
Look up Common Agricultural Policy and Brexit if you're curious about
a 25%
agriculture.
tariff on foreign aluminum, copper, lumber, and steel, because if we don't have, as an example, steel and lots of other things, we don't have a military, and frankly, we just won't have a country very long. Here today is a proud American steelworker, fantastic person from Decatur, Alabama, Jeff Denard. Stories like Jeff's remind us that tariffs are not just about protecting American jobs. They're about protecting the soul of our country. Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again, and it's happening, and it will happen rather quickly. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that.
That's how economics
Won't
work.
be much.
Adam Smith called it the invisible hand of the markets.
And look where Biden took us, very low, the lowest we've ever been. Jeff, I want to thank you very much. And I also want to recognize another person who has devoted herself to foster care community. She works so hard on it. A very loving person, our magnificent First Lady of the United States. Melania's work has yielded incredible results, helping prepare our nation's future leaders as they enter the workforce. Our First Lady is joined by two impressive young women, very impressive. Haley Ferguson, who benefited from the First Lady's Fostering the Future initiative and is poised to complete her education and become a teacher. And Elliston Berry, who became a victim of an illicit deepfake image produced by a peer. With Elliston's help, the Senate just passed the Take It Down Act, and this is so important. Thank you very much, John. John Thune, thank you. Great job. To criminalize the publication of such images online is a terrible, terrible thing. And once it passes the House, I look forward to signing that bill into law. Thank you. And I'm going to use that bill for myself, too, if you don't mind. Because nobody gets treated worse than I do online. Nobody. That's great. Thank you very much to the Senate.
Is that that's like a defamation law kind of thing?
But if we truly care about protecting America's children, no step is more crucial than securing
It's a
America's
tricky one to navigate
borders.
with free speech.
Over the past 4 years, 21
not
million
saying much,
people
though, when you're
poured into
uploading
the
images,
United
right?
States. Many of them were murderers, human traffickers, gang members, and other criminals from the streets of dangerous cities all throughout the world.
On the other
Because of
hand,
Joe Biden's
pictures worth
insane
1,000
and very
words, they say,
dangerous
right?
open border policies. They are now strongly embedded in our country, but we are getting them out and getting them out fast.
Where do they go? Back to where they came from, I suppose, but what if where they came from no longer
And I want to
exists,
thank Tom
for example?
Harmon and Christy, I want to thank you and Paul of Border Patrol. I want to thank you. What a job they've all done, everybody. Border Patrol, ICE, law enforcement in general is incredible. We have to take care of our law enforcement. Have to.